Rock on.
So Jared Cram has worked this system like thousands of other people do in New Hampshire. And he was protected by the Secretary of State's office as the courts are now protecting these people. So this is something everybody in New Hampshire has to know. We're going to hand out all the details, and every time one of these people tries to vote in New Hampshire, I'm going to peg them back at their own state. Now, Jared Cram, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court Disciplinary Board is not going to take any action against him. I'm going to send the same information to TD Bank where he works in Philadelphia. So they may or may not take an action. We might have somebody at TD Bank that says, gee, there's two opportunities for progress here at the bank. There's Jared Stephen Cram, who's always seems to be on the internet for being a vote thief, right? And then there's this other person. So this is called street justice, Jared. You've been informed by the Supreme Court that I complained against you, and they said that they were not going to proceed because I couldn't show that he voted in two states in the same election, which I did. So that's their, they've washed their hands of this. I thought they were a good board because they disbar like a dozen attorneys every month for cheating clients and for drug habits and stuff. I thought they might take some sort of an action. They haven't. I've waited 5 months for the letter to come through saying we're not going to pursue this, and now I can go full bore at Mr. Cram and the rest of these lowlifes, Jenna Rackavan and some of these people here. Of the 40-some, we're going to pursue in the city of Dover. We had a hearing with a ballot law commission and the purpose was to petition the ballot law commission to order Dover to purge their voter list, to take names like this off, like Manchester did in 2014. We turned over names. We used to give names over the internet, over the radio, of voters from 1200 Elm Street. That was a out-of-state voter nest. So the Democrat Party rented multiple rooms for multiple years and ran their election campaigns in Manchester out of 1200 Elm Street. One of those people came here from South Carolina. Her name's Alexandra Perez Caballero. She works for a police department in South Carolina.
I remember her.
Here's all her information. Her birth date, where she lives. I can get that from Alexandra Perez Caballero. I can get that from South Carolina. I can't get that here. So New Hampshire's going to have to explain why you want to protect out-of-state voters that steal my vote in New Hampshire. Tell us why. The court system wants to do that. The ACLU wants to do that. The League of Women Voters wants to do that. And the Secretary of State's office wants to do that. Tell us why. That's so important to you. If you're that desperate to win an election here in New Hampshire, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Voters show up and shoot down millions of dollars worth of bonds, but these same top-ticket votes all go to left-wing liberals, because that's who these people vote for. When they come here to New Hampshire, they're not voting on school issues and bond issues, even though they can. They're voting top of the ticket. Senate, House, governor, and then they're out. So that's where you're going to lose. The Republican Party doesn't really care about this, apparently, but they're going to lose all their top-ticket elections to college voters from other states, because this gets worse every single election cycle. We've been tracking it since 2000, and I don't think anybody really wants to debate this anymore. When we sat before the Ballot Law Commission, all they wanted to do was get rid of us. And luckily, Steve Labonte was there. He's the head honcho of the Election Law Division of the Attorney General's office. He came to defend Dover and oppose our request to have Dover's checklist purged. And what he had done was, the first thing out of the mouth of the head of the Ballot Law Commission was, we're only here for one thing today, to see whether or not the city of Dover is following election law. And I said, great. How can they? Because the Attorney General's office, the guy sitting to my right, sent a memorandum out to all election officials. No one is to be turned away. If you come in to vote, you're not to be turned away under any circumstances, is what the memorandum said. It said if someone comes in, doesn't have an ID, they're to be given the opportunity to sign a domicile affidavit. It doesn't say they shall sign. They're to be given the opportunity to sign. So if they decide not to, they still get to vote? Who's in charge of elections, Mr. Gardner? Some schlub at the Attorney General's office? Or you, Mr. Gardner, who just admitted we have a problem with drive-by voting? So I think some of us in New Hampshire hear the freight train coming behind them, but we're going to go federal. There's only way to get you guys to stop doing this is go to federal court. I'm waiting for the Supreme Court's response or opinion on this case, the Anne Marie Guerre case, which was Hannah Rivers. That's called the mobile domicile case, where they're arguing the fact that voters here have to register their car. Oh, no, they don't. Well, when that case is decided by the Supreme Court, they'll either do one of two things: pretend that out-of-staters have a right to vote here, or they'll say, no, your domicile is your legal address. If you're domiciled in another state, that's where you vote. Put on your big boy pants and get an absentee ballot, students. I don't know that they're going to do that. From sitting through that case, I saw one Supreme Court justice say, right there in front of me, and Labonte, the guy who's supposed to be defending our vote, the Supreme Court justice says, well, all you need in New Hampshire to vote is to be an inhabitant of the age 18. The rest of that sentence is, and you will vote in town or ward in which you are domiciled. It's clear, and that's the way it is all over the country. They might use resident, they might use different terms, but when you go to vote, you are declaring your legal residence. What's on your driver's license? Oh, the other thing they were asking is, what does a driver's license have to do with voting? Well, in many other states, the DMV and your voter registration are the same place.
The problem now is, with all of these illegal aliens now being given driver's license, you've just added 541,000 illegal voters who are now legal, because all you have to do is show a driver's license.
It'll be 9 million before 2016. They're going to try and add another 9 million. They cannot pry the votes they need to control this country out of the existing citizens. They have to bring in people from other countries and let them vote illegally. Well, in New Hampshire, I intend to stop them as much as I possibly can and make at least the college students and political activists from out of state pay the price. So I'm not done with Mr. Cram. If he doesn't like this, sue me. I'm at 61 Tubbs Hill Road, Deering, New Hampshire. Have your attorney or the ACLU in Hampshire send me a letter. Let's do this in public, because I think that's what they fear the most. Because I have your voting record, Mr. Cram, from Pennsylvania. I have Jana Rekavans from Pennsylvania. I have a ton of them from Connecticut. And I just ran into 2013 college students from Connecticut. Somebody has a website and put all the students from Connecticut who go to UNH on a website with their name and address and the town they're from. So I've been matching that with the Connecticut voter database.
They made it easy.
And they made it so easy it's not even funny. I've got a stack of it here anyway. I can show you later.
But there's something else that's thank you, Steve. There's something else that's bothering me about this stuff. You talk about domicile, and so they claim to be domiciled in New Hampshire and they go and vote. So here's the thing: they're living in their dorm rooms in whatever town it is, Durham, okay,
Dover,
yeah, okay,
Somersworth,
and so they go out and vote. Now, a few years ago, they went out and voted in Durham and Dover, where they were domiciled, which you could make that case, albeit tenuous, especially if they had voted somewhere else. But in 2012, it was different. In 2012, and I think in 2014, they put them on buses and spread them out where they could impact state rep elections across the state.
Yeah, I've heard people complain about that in Dover specifically, the buses, but I don't follow.
Well, so that means that not only are they claiming to be domiciled here for the purpose of transient voting, but they are voting in locations different from where they are claiming to be domiciled. Or alternatively, they are falsely claiming to be domiciled in some other small town than where they are living for college. So this means you've actually got two layers of fraud on these people, and we should be able to get them for it twice over.
I just talked to somebody who he didn't give me the permission to use his name, but he gave the name of two voters they caught voting in his town and another town. He said, we got the documentation. I gave it to Labonte, and I haven't heard anything back. So at some point, your Attorney General's office has to respond. The law says the Attorney General's office may investigate voter fraud. It doesn't say shall. So they're taking the option of, we catch one or two people a year, we'll just say that's what it is, and all of our peeps will repeat the same thing. There comes a point where in a federal suit, you go, okay, this gentleman here has been handed voter fraud proof on several occasions and chosen not to prosecute it. But for me, if I try and challenge like we did in 2002 up in Hanover, if I try and challenge like we did before, there's now a memorandum that says that's against the law and I can be arrested for it. So they're trying to limit my ability to challenge. They're trying to limit CNHT's ability to pry into records by eliminating almost anything. And they don't want the general public to join in this because you can't look up New Hampshire's database like you can in Vermont or Connecticut. You can look up your neighbor. So the people that have absolute knowledge about something, about potential voters, can't look it up in the state of New Hampshire. You can't get that information.
How do the candidates get the voter checklists now? Then?
They get it according to where they're running for office. So if you're running from a Senate district, all you're going to get is your Senate district. You're not going to get statewide.
So what we need is a bunch of friendly candidates to get...
we need to sue the state of New Hampshire to show why it's important to keep the paid-for by New Hampshire taxpayers statewide database secret, unlike any other state. I can go to Connecticut and find out.
Mm-hmm.
I can go to Pennsylvania and find out. I got Jenna Rakavans right here. I got right off the database, right off the internet, the page. Once you have their birth date, some don't even need the birth date. Connecticut, you just put the name in. You follow down the list of names till you have your name, and it says, here you go. You match it with a town, and you match it with their approximate birth date, and you know who they are. And then when you go on the internet, you say, look up Alexandra Perez Caballero. I know her mother's name, let's say, is Marie, and Marie lives at Crooked Bridge Lane. Well, guess what? So does she, Crooked Bridge Lane. Well, there's Mom and the daughter. Mom's been a registered voter since 1975 or 80, and she registered to vote in 2009, came here and voted in 2012, went back and voted there in 2014. Some of the people we've caught have not re-registered in their home state. Like Brian Gregory Griffith, the attorney that was voting at Martha Fuller Clark's voter fraud motel. I can't find him voting in Arkansas again. He's smart.
Wow.
Because he knows that we would track him from Arkansas to Martha Fuller Clark's house back to Arkansas, right?
So
there's your.
So he's basically invalidated his own.
Yeah, he's not voting anymore. Yeah, there's like 4 of them like that I caught that haven't re-registered. Sarah Ostino, she's from Florida. She voted from Meredith at the home of 2 postal employees.
In fact, if we allow our flexible domicile, if they come here, declare here, and vote here, as long as they vote here again and don't vote back home or don't vote in 2 places in the same year, they're not breaking our laws as they're currently implemented.
No, there's a case called the Neuberger case out of Hanover in 1972, and the federal court heard that, and the federal court said students, as long as they are otherwise qualified, that means domiciled, can vote in the state of New Hampshire. So we're saying if you're a college student, then become qualified. Declare this your domicile. Abandon the previous domicile. Don't stay registered there. Here's the list of college students from UNH or from Connecticut. The first page has 50 names. I caught 8 from the first page registered in Connecticut. So each one of these little goobers right here, each one of these is going to get a letter to the state saying, oh, by the way, if I catch them registered here, and then I get to look into their voter history because it's right on the database.
All right.
On the internet.
We're going to keep you up to date on this. Lots going on. We'll be writing about it. I'm going to take this to watchdog.org, too, because those people need to read about this fun story as well. Welcome to Grok Talk. Make sure you check us out on Facebook and Twitter. We're going to come right back with our good friend Kimberly Morin, and we will be right back. Stay tuned.
Rock.